Cristiano Ronaldo, the first billionaire in football history, the ultimate symbol of status and power, a man who transformed his name into a global currency capable of altering the economy of entire clubs and nations. Owner of supercars and the most magnificent mansions the world has ever seen. He has dated the most famous models and conquered an empire that will likely never be surpassed. But to understand how he reached that first billion, we must go back to a time when money simply did not exist. Born on the island of Madeira, Cristiano grew up in Quinta do Falcone, a neighborhood where luxury was an abstract concept and survival was the only daily goal. The son of a cook and a gardener, he knew hunger before he knew fame. At the age of 12, he left the island, alone, heading for sporting in Lisbon, with a suitcase full of dreams and the weight of rejection from those who thought he was too small. Before we progress to the beginning of the billionaire Cristiano, I am producing a complete documentary series on his life. If you want to follow every detail of the transformation of the boy from Madeira to his debut and consolidation at Sporting, watch episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 of my series. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. In 1997, Cristiano Ronaldo landed in Lisbon with only 12 years of age and an empty suitcase. For 5 years, the future billionaire lived on the edge. He had no salary, only a cost of living allowance of 100 euros per month. He lived in the sporting dormitories, used the subway, and owned nothing. But even with only 100 euros in his pocket, the great financial turning point happened in July 2002. At 17, Cristiano was promoted to the first team and signed his first professional contract. The value jumped from 100 euros to 2,000 euros per month, totaling 24,000 euros per year. For a young man who lived on almost nothing, this 2,000% increase was the first sign of power. He still lived in the dorms and had no cars, but the 2,000 euro contract was the document that proved the boy from Madeira had stopped being a gamble and had become a real asset. To the financial system of football, he was still invisible. There were no Ferraris, there were no jets. Cristiano lived in the sporting lodgings and his social life was confined. However, the backstage talk in Lisbon was already simmering. He was dating Jordana Jardel, sister of the then star Mario Jardel. It was his first contact with the it couple status, joining his technical promise to the lineage of a millionaire striker. He earned little, but he already carried himself like the owner of an empire. In August 2003, destiny accelerated. Fate was in a hurry, and the stage was the inauguration of the new José Alvalade Stadium. In that August night, Sporting faced the giant Manchester United, but what's supposed to be just a festive friendly transformed into the greatest stress test in the history of the English defense. Cristiano, only 18 years old, didn't just play, he terrorized. Every dribble over John O'Shea and every explosive sprint made the boys' market value skyrocket in real time. United's veteran players were stunned, and legend has it that Sir Alex Ferguson was pressured in the locker room by his own leaders. Sign this kid now. The decision was made right there, in the corridors of the stadium. Ferguson would not return to England without Cristiano's signature. The negotiation was one of the fastest and most aggressive in the history of modern football, closing a cycle that would forever change the sports economy. If you want to see this match in detail, every dribble that left the English defense speechless, and understand the frantic negotiations leading up to Cristiano's first game at Manchester, watch episodes 5 and 6 of my series. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. After that historic night, the life of 2,000 euros a month died definitively. Cristiano Ronaldo landed in England to receive £35,000 per week. This meant £140,000 per month and an annual contract of approximately €1.8 million. In just 1 month in England, Cristiano earned nearly 6 times what he would earn in an entire year in Portugal. The boy from Madeira had, officially, landed at the epicenter of global sports capitalism. In the early months, ostentation was contained by strict orders from Alex Ferguson, who wanted the boy's focus solely on the pitch. However, the capital was already beginning to flow, and Manchester United, through its official partnership with Audi, handed Cristiano the keys to his first real freedom, an Onstas, a brand new Audi A3. For the young man who until yesterday depended on the Lisbon subway or hitchhiking, that moment was a turning point. He was finally motorized. Valued at the time around €25,000 and equipped with an agile 150 horsepower engine, the A3 was the object of desire for any 18-year-old European, a symbol of premium status that many would spend a lifetime trying to achieve. But for the new Cristiano Ronaldo, that was merely the introductory vehicle, the first step for someone who now had control over their own destiny. Still, the capital needed an outlet that the A3 could not provide, and it wasn't long before his true first trophy of financial independence appeared in the garage, a silver Audi TT, the ultimate icon of the young and rich in the 2000s. At the time, Cristiano shelled out around £30,000, approximately €45,000 in those days' values. For any 18-year-old, that was an unreachable dream. For Cristiano, it was just 1 week's work. The power of this car wasn't just in the 1.8 turbo engine with 225 horsepower and the Quattro all-wheel drive that glued it to England's wet asphalt. The power was in what it communicated. With its futuristic design, aerodynamic curves, and the metallic shine that cut through the Manchester mist, the silver Audi TT was a declaration against anonymity. When Cristiano revved that engine through the streets of Cheshire, he wasn't just going to practice, he was warning the entire Premier League that the boy who took the subway in Lisbon was now the owner of the road. That car was the first brick in a collection that years later would be worth tens of millions. In 2003, he built his first fortress. He settled in a high-end residence in Cheshire, specifically in Alderley Edge, the most exclusive vertex of England's so-called Golden Triangle. Alderley Edge was not just an address, it was the refuge of modern aristocracy and great magnates. A village surrounded by hills where privacy is the most expensive commodity and discretion is the absolute rule. Cristiano didn't just look for a roof, he looked for a strategic asset. He acquired a red brick mansion typical of the region's noble architecture, valued at the time at approximately £3.85 million, about €5.5 million in those years' converted values. While most 18-year-olds would be renting apartments in the city center, Cristiano tied up a fortune to ensure his family had a secure territory. The mansion featured 5 luxury suites, but what truly defined the property as a headquarters was its high-performance structure, an indoor heated pool, sauna, and a state-of-the-art private gym. Cristiano traded collective lodging for the silence of an English manor that possessed gardens hidden by high walls and advanced security systems. He wasn't there for parties. He brought his mother, Dolores, and his siblings to live with him, transforming the residence into the pillar of his dynasty. In that neighborhood of silent millionaires, the boy from Madeira warned the world. He was not just passing through, he was planting the foundations of an empire. Cristiano's love life also changed in scale, entering the implacable radar of the British yellow press. The romance with Jordana Jardel did not survive the geographic barrier and the new reality of Manchester. The distance between the Lisbon sun and the English grey was the first price glory claimed. Cristiano became overnight the most coveted bachelor in the Premier League. Tabloids began to surround the young star in search of any slip-up or new affair. Rumors surfaced of brief encounters with models he already knew from Portugal, such as Carina Ferro, who was reportedly his first reported involvement after moving to the UK. But in Manchester, he was seen as a blank page ready to be filled by local celebrities. The pressure was such that every time Cristiano stepped out, it was documented like a state event. To face this new reality, he wore what defined power in the early 2000s. His new rich armor was composed of brands that shouted status from miles away. Cristiano was frequently seen in Burberry polo shirts with the collar invariably popped, wide Gucci buckle belts, and Italian-cut jeans from Dolce & Gabbana and Armani. On his feet, he showcased the most exclusive models from Nike, his sponsor. But off the field, he was already beginning to flirt with shoes from labels like Prada. The iconic 1-carat diamond earrings in each ear, bought at Manchester's most expensive jewelers, were not just accessories, they were a visual manifesto. Every logo stamped on his chest and every reflection in the diamonds served to tell the world the scarcity was over, and the boy from Madeira now spoke the language of the planet's greatest luxury houses. If 2003 was the year of the shock, 2004 was the year of domination. On the field, he was already a reality. In the bank, he was becoming a powerhouse. After a staggering performance in Euro 2004, where his tears in the final went around the world and humanized him before global brands, his contract was adjusted. His net earnings jumped to the range of 2.5 million euros per year, which meant that every 7 days, £50,000 entered his account. It was in 2004 that his first million euros in accumulated net wealth stopped being a goal and became a real balance. At 19, Cristiano Ronaldo was already technically a 7-figure millionaire. The silver Audi TT, though iconic, was no longer enough for Cristiano's new level. In 2004, he began to diversify his fleet with machines that demanded a new level of driving and, above all, a new level of respect. He acquired his first Porsche 911 Carrera II Tiptronic S from the 996 generation, an absolute classic of German engineering, valued at about £70,000. This was not just a sports car, it was a mechanical work of art. Equipped with the legendary 3.6-liter Boxer engine with 6 opposed cylinders, the 911 delivered 320 horsepower. The great differentiator was the Tiptronic S gearbox, a 5-speed automatic transmission that allowed for manual shifts via buttons on the steering wheel. Technology that brought the feel of the track to Cristiano's fingertips. With this setup, CR7's Porsche shot from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 5.5 seconds, reaching a top speed of 285 kilometers an hour. Inside, luxury was austere and focused. Sports seats in genuine leather with electric adjustment that hugged the driver in high-speed corners, and a premium finish that exuded the elite status of Stuttgart. But financial maturity also brought the need for versatility and discretion. To transit between training in Carrington and his fortress in Alderley Edge without the flashy roar of the Porsche, he added a Mercedes-Benz C220 CDI W203 model to his garage. Valued at around £30,000, the Mercedes was his luxury war tank for everyday use. Under the hood, a 2.2-liter turbo diesel engine with 150 horsepower focused on torque and efficiency. Although not a race car, with a 0 to 100 kilometers in 10.1 seconds, it delivered what Cristiano needed: extreme comfort. Noble wood finishes with dual-zone air conditioning and suspension that isolated the young star from Manchester's uneven asphalt. To Cristiano, these cars were not just transportation, they were extensions of his ego and his bank account. Every acceleration of the Porsche through the streets of Cheshire was the sound of success echoing in an aristocratic neighborhood. At 19, he was no longer just driving luxury cars, he was collecting declarations of power. If the Audi TT was the car of someone who arrived, the Porsche 911 was the car of someone who intended to dominate. Although he didn't change addresses, Cristiano transformed his mansion in Alderley Edge into a high-performance laboratory. In 2004, he invested heavily in renovations. He installed a private gym with equipment that even United's training center didn't possess at the time. He began to understand that his body was his greatest financial asset. The £3.85 million house became a bunker of discipline, where his mother, Dolores, managed the routine while the empire outside never stopped growing. The great watch and fashion brands no longer just knocked on his door, they sent exclusive catalogs before they even hit the stores. While the Porsche engine echoed through the roads of Cheshire, another noise grew off the pitch, that of the paparazzi's flashes. In 2004, Cristiano Ronaldo definitively stopped being just the boy wonder to become the most coveted bachelor on the continent. Free from his youthful relationship with Jordana Jardel, he began to frequent the most exclusive social circles in London and Lisbon, and his name became fuel for tabloid circulation. The highlight of 2004 was the intense rumor involving Brazilian model Daniela Aguiar. The affair, which graced magazine covers in Portugal and the UK, represented Cristiano's new scale. He no longer sought just the comfort of what was familiar, but international projection. Daniele was the symbol of the status that the new €1,000,000 in his account could attract. But the 2004 list did not stop there. Shortly after, the name of Isabel Figueira, one of the most famous presenters on Portuguese TV, also emerged backstage. The Ronaldo effect was implacable. Any woman seen within a meter of him became instantly famous. Cristiano began to understand that his love life was an extension of his brand. He frequented VIP areas of exclusive clubs like Panacea in Manchester and the VIP room in London, always surrounded by security and elite models. For Cristiano, 2004 was the year he realized that financial power and sporting success opened doors to a universe of influence and desire he had never imagined in Quinta de Falcao. He was no longer just a football player. He was the protagonist of a global soap opera of luxury, beauty, and power. The boy from Madeira had besieged the top of the world, and the countdown to the first billion had officially begun. What we have seen so far is only the foundation of an empire that would defy all laws of sports economics. From the boy who earned €100 in Lisbon to the young millionaire who besieged Manchester, the foundation has been laid. But the journey from the first million to the first billion hides even more impressive decisions, contracts, and acquisitions that will change your perception of what is possible to achieve at the top of the world. This is only the first part of Cristiano Ronaldo's financial achievements. If you want part 2 and want me to continue revealing the backstage of this unprecedented rise, leave your like now and subscribe to the channel to support the creation of more detailed content like this. The empire is just beginning.